that track, Say What You Want, was a huge hit for Texas in 1997 and may tip you off as to who our special guest is tonight. She'll be hitting the stage in Glastonbury tomorrow, but she's hanging out with us tonight before she heads off. So it's great to welcome Sharleen Spiteri.
Hey, Jackie, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm good. I'm all good.
Well, listen, who would have thunk it, 34 years ago, that you'd that this would still be a successful band, ongoing?
It would still be a daytime job.
Still looking for a proper job.
I know. If only my mum and dad were here, they would be like that. Christ, have you still not got a decent job yet?
You're getting away with it. You are getting away with it. And to celebrate, of course, we've got this fantastic in this 34-year legacy, a double LP and CD compilation, the very best of 1989 to 2023. On there as well, there's a new single. It's obviously it's all the legacy stuff, all the fantastic stuff we're familiar with. But there's a new single, After All, which I've just listened to, which I just honestly, it's kind of disgusting that you're still getting better and better. It's really not very fair.
Thank you very much, number one, for that. But yeah, I mean, After All is very much it's like a straight down the line Texas song, isn't it? It's one of those ones you can imagine, going to see us playing live, and it's like hands in the air, like chanting along. We put 2 new songs on the album, so we've got that, and then we've got the other single that's from the album called Keep On Talking, which is a Northern Soul classic that we've done with Spooner Oldham. We did that out in Muscle Shoals in Alabama. So yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's a little. We thought we tried to put stuff on it because we put the 2 new songs. Then we also put the version of Say What You Want with the Wu-Tang Clan. We also put the duet with Alan Rickman on there. Stuff that maybe some people wouldn't have heard. So yeah, we just put all that sort of on it as well. So give some people something else.
So we still some time and shut our heads.
That's the new single from Texas, After All. Sharleen Spiteri is our special guest for our great conversation tonight, which I'd appreciate at any time, but especially as you're at Glastonbury tomorrow.
We haven't played Glastonbury since 1999, and we're back playing Glastonbury this year. So on that pyramid stage, I'll be singing my heart out. So yeah.
Do you remember who you were sort of side by side with at the last Glastonbury? Who would you have been?
The Manics were the headliner. So
right, okay.
The headliner, and we were just below the Manics on the pyramid stage back then as well.
Well, I know the Arctic Monkeys are supposed to be headlining tomorrow night, and that's a bit up in the air with some voice issues. But be in no doubt, people, the mighty Texas will be rocking that Glasgow stage. Before we let you go to get ready for that, Sharleen, as you know, we like to take a bit of a deep dive on our great conversation to get a sense of the music that meant something to you when you were younger and may have influenced you. So let's kick straight off with our first question. The first single you ever bought, do you remember what that was?
The first single I ever bought was Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Oliver's Army. Which was, and I still listen to that now and think, what a bloody great record.
Absolutely brilliant. And it's, he was on the show actually, just over a year ago, and he doesn't like it now. That he thinks it's sort of politically not him anymore, or it's just there's words in it that are not him, and he's...
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like I can understand, politically it's not him anymore, and I can understand because it was a very, very different time and what was being said, and it was the whole punk era and everything like that, and rebelling against that. So yeah, maybe he doesn't have the same stand as he had there, but as a record as a whole, rather than political stance, it's just a great record.
It's a very cool first record. How old would you have been then, do you reckon?
God, I don't know. I was young. I remember going to the record shop on a Saturday and buying it. You used to get your record in like a little paper bag then, and it had like a wee person dancing and a record player on it and everything. White bag, all different colours on it.
Done it, yeah.
And I always used to buy a plastic sleeve as well, like a little.
Yes, keep it nice and clean and tidy. Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. I remember that, and it was a little record shop. It was in Alexandria. And it had the record shop, and then off it was an old cinema, so it had a cinema in it, and it had like loads of games machines, and we used to go down there and play Defender and Centipede. Don't start me talking. I could talk.
Oliver's Army, Elvis Costello and the Attractions. So that was a hit in 1979. We've figured out Charlene and I are the same age, so she would have been 12 when she bought that single as her first ever vinyl purchase. The soundtrack to a misspent youth playing Defender and Centipede down the arcade. Didn't we all? And we'll be back to find out how things progressed from there with our special guest on The Great Conversation, Sharleen Spiteri of Texas, next. Welcome back to the evening show with Jackie Brambles. We're having a great conversation, so pull up a chair and cozy on in, because it's just you, me, and our special guest, Sharleen Spiteri of Texas. Now, before the break, Sharleen, we found out that your first ever single purchase was Oliver's Army by Elvis Costello and the Attractions. What about when you graduated into sort of teenagerhood? Where did your taste start to take you then? Who would have been like the first live gig you went to see?
The first band I went to see live was Simple Minds at Tiffany's.
Oh, wow.
I was working as a junior at a hairdressing salon at Irvine Rusk at that point in Glasgow, and my big cousin took me. So that was my first gig, because Tiffany's was an over 18 gig.
Yeah.
And my big cousin took me. I had to dress up, had to look a bit older. I think I'd have been 14 at the time, 14, 15 years old.
All right. Did you have to have the fake ID, or you just looked the part?
No, I just because it's my big cousin as well. And it's always hard to tell with girls as well. And it was like, it was back in the day, it was
get away with it.
It was, you could get away with it. So, it wasn't as strict then as it is now. So yeah. And, you don't, at that age, you don't really know, you don't really think about the consequences of being underage and going in somewhere, or what could happen.
That's right.
So there was that as well. But I went and I just absolutely loved it. And I was like, amongst all these older people, I was just kind of thinking, I am dead cool. I just thought I was the bee's knees.
Promise to America. I promised you America.
Promised You a Miracle from Simple Minds circa 1982, around the time when Sharleen Spiteri witnessed them live as her first ever gig. When you were in the audience watching them, were you just sort of being a typical teenager watching this band and being blown away by them? Or was there a part of your brain that was saying, I want to do that? That's what I want to do.
No, there wasn't a part of me saying, I want to do that. I kind of like, I the first time that I saw The Clash and I saw Joe Strummer, like, literally ripping his hand to bits on the bridge of the guitar and bleeding all over the scratch plate and his Telecaster, and he was just like spitting the words out. I remember thinking, whoa, I don't know what that is, but that I like, and I want to be like that. That's what I want to do. I want to have that. I want to feel that emotion. And when I stood there that night watching Simple Minds as well, I wasn't really thinking, oh, I want to be them. I was just thinking, this moment of energy within this room with the band and the audience, and it's like we are one. And funnily enough, to this day, when I stand on the stage and I walk out and we bat it out on that first 10 seconds a song, and suddenly that's the moment where it's like the audience either comes with you or they don't, and it's that moment of you are just one massive energy that just is in that moment. That's why we love playing live as well. When
you were sort of starting to get some traction and some attention as Texas, who would have been your contemporaries at that point? Who would have been to the left and right of you in the scene that were also, just on the cusp or either just behind or just ahead?
Well, it was bands at that point, whenever we were doing TV, I remember going to Australia and all that, going to do stuff, and there was Transvision Vamp.
Oh yeah, I remember them, yeah.
REM, the Pixies, there was all those sort of bands. Those were all the bands that were around at that point. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, was all those bands. Those were like the bands that we constantly, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Normally it was like when you did the festivals and stuff like that, those were the sort of bands you were constantly
that you're coming across. Yeah. Do you remember the first Top of the Pops?
Yeah, I remember that. It was Womack and Womack. Living in a Box, Tanita Tikaram, Gloria Estefan.
Wow.
Yeah, there was all those people on it.
Time flies when you're having fun. Your love is slipping through my hands.
Gloria Estefan in the charts with I Can't Stay Away From You when Texas broke through with I Don't Wanna Love Her in early 1989, and of course got to appear on the legendary Top of the Pops. I mean, it's a surreal experience, I would imagine, to go from being a kid watching that every Thursday night, growing up with it as we all did, and then you're doing it. Did you sort of feel intimidated by the moment, or?
No, I was literally, honest to God, I was like, you know, I was literally like basking in the sun. It was wonderful. We actually got into a lot of trouble after our first Top of the Pops because we did Top of the Pops, and when we were there, I want to say it was Melody Maker. I'm not sure if it was Melody Maker or NME.
Right.
We did an interview at Top of the Pops when we were doing it, and they were like, "What do you think?" And we says, "Oh God, we were really surprised. The studio is really tiny, and they moved the audience about."
Yeah.
We got into so much trouble.
You broke the fourth wall.
Actually, it wasn't actually me that said it. It was Ali that said it. Look at me, I'm just like that, literally thrown and literally had to make an apology to Top of the Pops.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. Just kind of breaking the illusion. But I mean, yeah, your memories are very similar to other guests as well, of just how bonkers the actual experience was. Nothing like they thought it would be.
Yeah, the first time we did it, the band that were supposed to be, it was just like you would get a phone call on a Tuesday and you'd be like, you just got Top of the Pops. And we were literally like going mental, literally freaking out. Yeah, it was good.
So obviously that's kind of, it does have this magical power. It did back then of you're suddenly in the public eye, you're suddenly in newspapers, people know who you are when you're going to get...
You say your parents were doing Top of the Pops, and it was literally like, oh, okay, they now have just become, you know, it doesn't matter if you're hit right. It's like, all right, if you're on Top of the Pops...
Yeah.
With the chart, they would do the chart rundown and everything. You'd be in there, it would doom, doom, doom. It was literally like, it was such a big deal. And then your parents would tell everybody they know, Top of the Pops are going to be on. They're going to be on at Tesco. And like everybody you knew, all your pals, everything were like watching Top of the Pops that night, and you were literally like, and you know, for me, I was like, I'm singing live. It was like, you know, it was.
Yeah.
But I remember making such a big deal of the fact that I was singing live, because after it, I was literally, before they cut you off, I was like, thank you. So people would live.
I don't want a lover, I just need a... Now that I know it was love.
I Don't Want a Lover. It didn't sound like anything else, did it? What an amazing track. A moody, evocative song to break through with. That got to number 8 in 1989. And here we are, 34 years later, and Texas are about to appear on the Pyramid stage at Glastonbury tomorrow night. Not too shabby. And we will be back with more great conversation from Charlene Spiteri of Texas next. Welcome back to the evening show with Jackie Brambles, where we are enjoying a great conversation with Charlene Spiteri of Texas. Before the break, we were talking about that breakthrough moment of having your first hit and appearing on Top of the Pops. And what happens off the back is sort of the huge success that then whooshes you along. Some artists are sort of sent out to headline their own acts. Others are whisked off with a bigger act to support. What happened with you guys?
We were already on a tour playing all the universities in the UK, and then it literally went from that back round again, where the venues got bigger. Then we went off to Europe, and the record broke all over Europe. Southside was a massive hit all over Europe, and I think we did I think it was like a 2-year tour.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
It was long, but it felt like a minute. And, you know, you're literally, I remember we went from having an old Mercedes Transit van that had been, someone had like, one of the roadies had like put a wood floor on it and then screwed down some old bus seats.
Right.
And our gear in the back. And then we went from that to tour bus, which was like, oh my God, we have a tour bus. It was like, it did take us quite a long time to get to the tour bus. It wasn't just after the first hit record. It was like, it took us a bit of time.
Took a while. What about the States? Did you get whisked over there?
We went to America. The first time we went to America would have been, we opened up for John Mellencamp.
Ah, right.
And that was like really early days. And he was just amazing. I mean, I honestly, I learned so much off John. He really took me under his wing.
Little ditty about Jack and Diane. Two American kids doing best they can.
You know, I remember that when we were about to a record company, we were like, okay, you're going to open up for John Mellencamp. You're playing sheds in the States. Sheds are like big venues, and the open ones in America. And we were like, okay. And they're like, you'll never meet him. You'll never see him. You know, he hasn't had an opening act for 12 years, so we're really honoured that you're doing this and everything. We were a bit like, yeah, okay, whatever. We do the first show.
Yeah.
After it would come backstage, we're sitting in a dressing room, the door knocks, a knock at the door opens up, and it's John Mellencamp standing there, and John was like, listen, thanks so much, saw the show, it was brilliant, he's a great actor, he's going to hang around to watch our show. And we were like, yeah. And he's like, come up on the side of the stage and watch the show and whatever. And we were all watching it, and halfway through the set, he kind of like shuffles over and he says to me, do you know Pink Houses, the song? And I was like, yeah. I mean, this is way before, like, it's 1989. This is like, there's no like, it might be 1990, but there was no mobile phones or anything unless it was one of those big, massive traveling. And there certainly wasn't any mobile phones going to America.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, so I couldn't like Google the blooming lyrics or anything. So I was like, oh my God. You know, when you try to remember the words of the song, you're like, so I was like, yeah. Because I was just like, yeah. I mean, I was like, yeah. And he went like that. Okay, you're on the next song. And he took me on stage every night, and I used to sing Pink Houses with him every night on stage. And he would introduce us and talk about the band. And
wow,
yeah, he was just fantastic. He was a really fan. Him and his wife Elaine, they were just like fantastic. They were fantastic people to be around, and the whole band were so kind to us and really looked after us. And you remember it, you know, we've been lucky.
I think that's pretty rare from, you know, what.
Listen, we've been really lucky. We opened up for Robert Plant way in the beginning, and Robert was like so good to us. Bryan Adams, we toured with Bryan Adams extensively throughout Europe in the early days, and Bryan and his band looked after us amazingly as well. So, you know, it really taught us a lot early on. You know, you need to look after it. You really look after the opening act, because we did some other gigs with some other people that weren't very nice.
Can't Stop This Thing We Started, a hit in 1991 for Bryan Adams. Great to hear he was such a great tour mentor for Texas when they were his support band. And now you're in that position where you get to pass it on. Have you sort of passed that same thing on to any support bands yourself?
I hope we have. There's been times when we've had support bands that literally wouldn't talk to us. I mean, a bit like, whoa, you're on this once. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, that's not, they've got that badly wrong.
We're like, well, yeah. Seriously, this lot getting signed off the tour, they're not going to do many more dates for us.
That's not great. So, I mean, you've had these amazing relationships and friendships, and what I love about yours, Charlene, is they're so disparate, they're so varied. You know, from we saw you not long ago doing, not on purpose on screen, but doing a duet with Dame Judi Dench. I mean, how did that come about?
A drunken collab. We were so drunk. Well, I was definitely very drunk. I mean, I was singing, are we down here? Yeah, I could hardly talk. So yeah, we were being a bit naughty and jumped on a piano in a hotel foyer. Judy couldn't help herself, and I followed.
Was she the ringleader?
I was like, I got to give her a bit of support here. I got to back it up, and it's an ABBA song. So yeah, it was fun. We laughed a lot, and
was it Waterloo that you did?
We did Waterloo, and we were a bit surprised and shocked when suddenly we were all over the television and the news. We were like, oh my God.
Waterloo, how could you think if I wanted to? Waterloo, knowing my baby.
And I said to Judy, because I had my phone in my pocket at this lunch, and suddenly my phone was just going bzz, 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 bzz. And I thought, oh my God, something happened to my daughter or something. Like, why is she phoning me? And I look at my phone, and it's just like a million messages going, you've just been on the news with Dame Judi Dench. And I was like, and Judy and I like that. Look at this, her and her partner David, and I went, look at this, and she just went, oh good God, if only we'd known we'd have rehearsed.
Well, listen, we'll let you go after one final question that we ask all our guests. And that's not a favourite song. That would be a ridiculous question. But it's a particular song that our audience would know that you go to because, you know, it's a dead cert for getting you in the mood you're trying to get into. And it has to be a hit. Can't be an obscure album track because we're the greatest hits.
I don't do obscure. I'm literally, you know, There's a lot of songs that I like that are obscure songs that they're my songs, but I'm a bit like, you know, when somebody's playing a track on the radio, it's a bit like, seriously, get to the point. Yeah, I am going to go with River Deep Mountain High, Ike and Tina Turner.
When I was a little girl, I had a brag doll.
Charlene, thank you so much, mate. All the very best with Glastonbury and with the new album, and such a pleasure to catch up.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Charlene Spiteri, catch her and Texas on the Pyramid Stage at Glastonbury tomorrow if you're headed that way. The new album is the very best of 1989 to 2023. All the hits and 2 new tracks, and you can catch them around the UK next month doing mini gigs at record stores throughout the country.